I'd like to call this meeting to order, August 27th, our regular meeting. Welcome, everyone. As we gather today, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of this committee and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. And please join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Just a couple of points I would like to make. The Irish Gathering, despite the weather, it was another huge success. Thank you to Maureen and Noel for taking on the job until Colton arrived. I'd like to thank the Killaroo Pharmacy, which housed the Cultural Center, and to celebrate their second anniversary, they had free hot dogs, which was a huge success for the event. I'd like to thank the Killaroo Lions Club, looking after the bar and providing the hall because of the wet weather on Saturday night. The Killaroo Hardware Store, they housed the selfie photo and the scavenger hunt. Beaver Tails, they made up a specialty beaver tail. The Farmers Market, they were very flexible in moving to Water Street. The Engine House, Granny's Pantry, they allowed us to use their property for the beer tent, which was very important. Eileen Walsh, who did an outstanding job coordinating the music. And thank you to all the volunteers who helped with various jobs. The two draws were very successful, the 50-50 draw for the Knights of Columbus and the quilt draw for the food bank and library. Both were very successful. I just got an email the other day as far as the drawdown notice for Round Lake only. It will start September the 3rd. So that will level the drawdown gradually over the fall and winter, same as past years. Was that notice? Just a summary of the AMO conference that I attended last week. The main focus, of course, was on homelessness and opioid crisis and infrastructure for housing. Had the usual speakers, Doug Ford, Marit Stiles, Tony Crombie, and Mike Schreiner. There was a host of other speakers from Ontario Medical Association, MPAC, Life Cycle, look at recreation infrastructure. There was a session partnering to drive local workforce and economic development. And one interesting one was the cloud to community, which was everyone's storage is being sent to the cloud, which is, it's a whole other story. But one of the big ones was municipalities and the opioid epidemic. And Paul Calandra was there, who was the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and he gave us the lowdown. Sylvia Jones was there, she was the Minister of Health, and Kinga Surma, who's the Minister of Infrastructure. There was lots of discussion in regards to water and wastewater. Proposal of a virtual roundtable with a lady named Judy Dazell, Director of AMO Enterprise Center and Business Partnerships, which is in the works, and we're trying to get that organized. In regards to the provincial government, they're looking at doing more for new systems. They're really not looking at municipalities needing repairs. All the mayors that were there and I've talked to are very frustrated with the situation. Neil Nicholson, the Whitewater mayor, he asked for information from municipalities, and just a couple of quick facts. We are the third most expensive system based on percentage of average household income. So Whitewater is 3.8%, Madawaska Valley is 3.2%, and we are at 3%. The least expensive are Petawawa, 0.92%, Laurentian Hills is 1.36%, and Iron Prior 1.45%. And this also includes Pembroke at 2.2, which is double the provincial average of 1.1%, which is amazing. The top 3% of user fees serving debt interest, Whitewater is at 23%. Of course, everyone has read about that. Renfrew is at 16%, and Bon Valley is at 13%. We are very fortunate as we have zero debt. So if anybody would like to see any of the information that was collected as far as the charts of other municipalities, I don't think we mailed that out. Did we send that out? That chart? No. If anyone wants to see it, we have it. Also, received some documentation in regards to, and everyone I think received this Ontario Senior Achievement Awards. Everyone got that emailed to them. If you have any candidates, please submit them. There was 2 federal grant opportunities, which I passed on to Colton with the eye towards Round Lake, for Round Lake Rink. One was provincial and one was federal. There was a community emergency preparedness grant. I believe Tammy had forwarded that to Bob. Construction update, Brennan's Creek opened just in time for the Irish Gathering, which was great. And the Traymore Bridge, the completion date is still early October. Does anyone have any pecuniary financial interest to the club? Haven't seen none. And now it is time for Mr. Peters. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So this short slide deck is in the package, in your council package this evening. I've tried my best to keep it as concise as possible, understanding the subject matter. This evening I'm here to speak about the Blue Box recycling program transition. So many of us have heard for many years about the responsibility of producers, financial responsibility as well, to cover packaging that is managed by municipalities. And that process has effectively come to light over the past couple of years, and with respect to the township, I'm just here to provide an overall update and kind of next steps. So just on my presentation outline, I'm going to talk a little bit about background. So for some of you may recall where things kind of started in the recycling realm. We'll talk about producer responsibility. We'll address some key concepts and terms, and the reason that's important is there are still some elements to this process that are going to be the responsibility of be it the township or others that are not eligible under this program change to talk about. We'll speak about material sources, so eligible and non-eligible sources, kind of a timeline of how things are progressing and have progressed to date, and then the transition progress for the township yourselves, and looking at next steps. So within this slide deck are slides you'll see that have CIF on the top. The Continuous Improvement Fund is an arm's length kind of separate agency that was retained kind of through municipalities, AMO, and to some extent through Circular Materials. We'll talk about them in a second. So I've taken slides that are provided as workshops and things throughout the process. These are free to any municipality, and Greenview has acted on the municipality's behalf to be kind of a liaison with them. So that's why you see these slides. I didn't steal them; they're provided. So just on the left side, you'll see shared industry funding. Originally, municipalities were stuck in the 50% rebate, and that is carried on more recently with producers and residential consumers, local government, etc. The rebates that you've received are plus or minus 50% over the past number of years in terms of managing Blue Box recycling. Where we are now is we're in 100% realm of producers themselves managing Blue Box recycling generated by residential consumers. And we'll talk a little bit about the difference between residential and non-residential shortly. Quickly, the legislative framework Originally, you may recall 1994 when recycling came to life. I recall my mother showing me how to wash out a glass jar and take the label off. Of course, we don't do that necessarily now, but that was the original. Everybody had bought into it. Progressing from there, we went to the Waste Diversion Association, had the shared responsibility. I mentioned the 50-50. And then when the Resource Productivity and Recovery Authority, also known as REPRA, came in to introduce and implement the new legislation, we're now in the full producer responsibility realm. So that's with legislation brought through Reg 391 in 2021. So producers versus responsibility, producer responsibility organizations, or they're also called pros. Effectively, you see where packaging is generated. So it's any packaging you see that's purchased by a residential consumer effectively. These are just a few SNP companies that were brought forward. Circular Materials is the organization that operates on behalf of the producer responsibility organization, so the pro, okay? So Circular Materials, or CM, I may refer to them as CM, are the group that are now in play to manage and implement the program as mandated by the legislation. Eligible communities versus eligible sources. So eligible communities are primarily any local municipality not located in the far north, that being that the program has primarily been in the southern majority of Ontario. And it includes First Nations communities, of course. Eligible sources, so this is kind of the key element that we're looking at getting you through first, and then we have to look ahead in terms of non-eligible sources, but primarily we're looking at anything that is residential in nature. Those are eligible sources in eligible communities. So in the township, any of your residential buildings, including multi-residential, come into play and are eligible for the program. I mentioned Circular Materials. They're responsible for the common collection system. They are the overarching entity in Ontario that is effectively managing the transition process. Okay, they represent the producers. They are an arm's length group on behalf of the producers themselves. They primarily are the ones that organize everything at a high level, and then they have sub-consultants and subcontractors that are part of the solution as we go through transition. Again, just some key concepts to get you up to speed with what's been going on in the past couple of years. One of the key elements that was first asked for communities to consider is whether this opt-in or opt-out concept. And if you've heard that before, primarily where you're a community that has curbside collection, which of course we have here in the village only, they're asking whether or not a municipality, and this was years ago, but they originally asked whether you might want to do your own curbside collection or continue to do it, and effectively you would become a subcontractor to CM. Because of the number of stops and the process went quickly originally. On the curbside part of this, and then there's the depot side, and you have two depots that users can bring their materials to, both garbage and recycling, and that is the other part. So through the process, Circular Materials asked what each municipality wanted to do in terms of their role. In terms of curbside, the municipality provided information to them that opted out of curbside collection during the transition period. And I clarify the transition period in a second. And then you opted in, and as part of your package this evening, there's a standardized agreement in your package with respect to depot operations. And I'll explain both of those in a little more detail. The transition period is different for a number of municipalities. And I just want to clarify this before we get too much further. So larger municipalities were involved in the initial transitions. So in 2022, 2023, Toronto, Ottawa, Kingston, the larger communities, London, Windsor, etc., they were involved in early transition. They were kind of spearheading the initial change for this. For the township, your transition date is July 1st, 2025. So next summer. Full transition is as of January 1st, 2026. And I'll touch on this again as we go along. But effectively, there are two phases to this. Circular Materials wants to know what the township, or asked what the township wanted to do during the transition phase, which is only 6 months. So if you're going to go through a major change, that major change would effectively, potentially only last for 6 months. There are some communities, such as Madawaska Valley, that aren't transitioning until December 31st of 2025. 1 day of transition. So that's likely just a administrative element to get them under an agreement that they can potentially extend. But there are some communities in Ontario that are in that boat. You guys have a 6-month transition period, and effectively we're looking at a way to manage your blue box recycling through the residential side for 6 months. And then as of January 1st, Circular Materials is fully responsible without support from the township potentially. And that is the second stage to this. So we're still dealing with what's going to happen during transition. It's not clear what we're doing post-transition. Okay. So for the township, you've opted out of curbside collection in the village. That means a contractor will now come in and collect it during the transition 6 months. And then you've opted in to operate your depots to support Circular Materials for those that don't have curbside collection. And now you actually get paid for it. So we'll talk about that in a second. So I mentioned the transition process. You can see in the next slide, pre-transition, again, was our shared industry funding. This is how it applies. Post-transition is full producer responsibility. Okay? So all Ontario communities are going to be covered under this legislation. Again, focused on residential. And you see some of the icons here. Single-family homes, seasonal dwellings, multi-unit residential buildings, etc. Specified public spaces, which isn't always the case, similar to here in the township. We have some locations, but very few parks and such compared to larger municipalities. So eligible sources, and this is where we're going to talk a little bit after the non-eligible sources in a second. Transition date, again, I mentioned full transition happens at the end of next year. So the pros are to maintain servicing as of August 15th, so 2019. And I gave you that date, and it's written here, simply because that's what they base their servicing upon. So the number of residences or pickups or locations or materials is how the producers were first initiated into pricing how much they would pay, for example, for opt-out communities or depot operations agreements, okay? So again, as of January 1st, 2026, the producers are to extend collection to all non-service communities outside of the far north and non-service eligible sources if registered, okay? So again, just some of the dates and some of the terminologies that are somewhat important here as we look ahead. And I'll get into the good stuff shortly. Pre-transition, these are just comparative slides. Post-transition. During the post-transition, industrial or commercial properties in the township, not-for-profit organizations, municipal buildings and facilities, daycares, places of worship, campgrounds, commercial farms are not eligible for to be covered under producer responsibility. So this is in the post-transition as of January 1st. Okay? So that's important because on the next slide, this is the key thing for consideration as we look a little further ahead, and that is the non-eligible source, or NES. So Your post-transition date, again, January 1st. Blue box materials from your IC&I sector is kind of the simpler way to do it, but it includes municipalities, will no longer be managed by the producers. So that puts, although the municipality has provided that service in the past, you are not obligated to serve them either further as of that date. So there are some alternatives here that most smaller municipalities that certainly we are working with and that we collaborate with are looking at. And the first one, and this is real, is effectively you would advise your non-eligible source entities that as of January 1st, 2026, the township is no longer providing service to you for pickup or collection. Okay? That doesn't mean that they can't now take it to the depot and have it managed. But the reality is that at your depot sites, there's the expectation that your depot sites will be operating primarily for the residential sector only. So most municipalities in this situation are now setting up a second set of bins. So you have your residential bins that are eligible, that get operated under circular materials, and then you have a second set of bins that are being managed by the non-eligible sources. Okay? The second alternative, which is most common, is also common, is a fee-for-service basis. So the township can continue to service those non-eligible sources for a direct fee. So you may have an agreement with a contractor to go and do that, the township may, or again, the actual entity or the company, the business may look to have that being done privately. So this is something that we're looking at on behalf of the township. I note here in the slide the options. This can be independently done, the fee for service can be independently done by the township direct, or there is the option for cooperative procurement. And this is something we're just starting to look into, is whether a number of municipalities can cooperate, increasing the number of stops or locations, thereby by economies of scale, drive the price down. We're just starting to do a bit of a process on behalf of the township, as well as your neighbors. And we've just initiated kind of a call for interest on that. And we'll be meeting again here before too long to look at options to see whether the township wants to pursue that. So non-eligible sources are the thing, is the one element of this is yet to be resolved, and it is a large focal point of this entire process. Through the legislation, it was not non-eligible sources or businesses, etc., were not captured in the legislation, only residential blue box. So that's what's been mandated down through circular materials for collection, and that's still the case as of today. Looking at blue box materials, so in the past, of course, it's varied by community. It's different here versus next door. Certainly different where I come from, which isn't that far away. Post-transition, all materials, all the same across the entire province. You don't have to create your own what's acceptable and what's not acceptable depending on your residents coming from, say, from urban centers to the cottage. It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same in Ottawa as it is in Gilbert as of January 1st, 2026. And that's part of the whole process to make this as easy to use and as user-friendly for travel or what have you. Designated materials under that list, there's still exclusions. These are written right into the legislation. So things like cling wrap and sandwich bags and those kind of things, single-use packaging, that kind of thing is not part of what's acceptable. But again, the point is that's going to be standard across the board, so there isn't guesswork looking at that. Okay. So I mentioned about the transition period and post-transition. So we are The original transition period with larger municipalities started on July 1st, 2023. It carries right through to the end of next year. For the township, you are July 1st, 2025. And you have effectively 6 months of transition. We don't anticipate a whole lot of change there. During the transition period, Circular Materials and their contractors will be collecting your non-eligible source materials for transition period, but as of January 1st, 2026, they are not, and that's the key. So we're looking ahead to that, being ready. I mentioned here, again, some of these transition and timeline elements. I won't go through them. I know I'm a little bit long, Mr. Mayor, I apologize. In terms of transition progress, on behalf of the township, effectively with tonight's potential endorsement of council of your depot operations agreement, we'll have effectively met all the requirements that CM has asked us to do, working closely with staff and outside entities such as CIF in support. So with the depot operations agreement that you have in your package, this is agreement between the township and Circular Materials and their contractor, which we learned today is Miller Waste, just today. So they are going to be the contractor that will be servicing your depots. The township will provide staff. You'll be, snow plowing, minimal things, ensuring there's power, safe access, etc. Supervising, and you get paid for that, and that's written right into the agreement. Okay, so that is the depot operations agreement that is in your package, and there's a cost. There's a revenue stream coming to the municipality for that service for the transition period. I've covered most of these things. Some of the transition stuff is then just gathering data at the outset. So our next steps for council's consideration, as I mentioned, execute the depot operations agreement. This agreement, has been vetted through CIF. It's been vetted through a number of colleagues and other consultants, as well as other municipalities. It is a standard agreement, similar to most waste agreements. They're standardized. There isn't a lot of flexibility and change. And then the second point is considering and evaluating strategies to manage your non-eligible sources. That is the big thing coming to the township on January 1st, 2026. For you, of course, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions.
That helpful presentation. You answered every question everybody had.
It's going to be interesting to get started. I worked in the waste sites and I've done a lot with the waste sites over the years. So it's going to be interesting to get started and rolling. It'll take that time to get going and learn to do stuff. We've had questions being asked from the attendants, plus from people coming in here about this new stuff coming with the laws. So now we got something that we can answer available.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, with respect to promotion and education of the public, that process is now initiated through again, Circular Materials is responsible for that as well, so the P&E, promotion and education side. We've had initial discussions with them. There are resources available to the township. So we've been anxiously waiting to know who your service provider will be, and again, I think it was today that we learned. It's way late, and that is the largest county in Ontario, being Renfrew, plus all of Hastings and portions around there. It's a huge rural area. It was the last contract to be finalized in terms of servicing. So a lot of communities are kind of racing now to get a handle on where things are. But the promotion, education, making sure the public was aware of what's going to happen and how it's going to happen is on our list to look at as we move forward.
I might have missed this. So through the transition period, Tyler, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will a contractor be picking up the recycled material in Kildoot, or how does that work? Sorry, I might have missed this.
No. Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's what you currently have now will be the same, effectively in terms of curbside.
Okay,
So they will not only pick up residential, but they will also pick up IC&I, so your commercial businesses, but only for the transition period, okay? So there's a cost to do that. It's written out in the agreement itself, but as you have it now, it'll effectively be the same. On January 1st, 2026, it changes. So there's gonna be another agreement or an extension of what you have that's still to come that we'll have to look at next year.
I might have lost, but will we not be picking up the recyclables in Kildoot? This contractor will be
The contractor will be as of July 1st,
in Kildoot picking up the
Correct.
recycle,
yeah,
and we will not be picking it up.
correct.
Okay, thank you. Got it in my head.
Very good. We need, to vote or do you want to say?
No, because that's what the bylaw is prepared for, in the bylaw section, is to sign the agreement, and then we can let them know, because we have to docu-sign the actual agreement, but we have to sign the bylaw that I have. If we wanted to read it now, that's fine too, we can change it, the agenda to do so, but I have that all prepared for the bylaws.
I think I had one or two questions. In other municipalities, during the transition period, what did they have their staff do? Like staff that used to go around and pick up the recyclables? Now, the other companies coming in, what has other municipalities done with those staff?
It's our sense, Mr. Mayor, that those staff would be reallocated to other departments, potentially. Depending on the size of the municipality, there could be unfortunately layoffs. In your case, with the continued operation of your depots under that agreement, I would suspect that most of your staff would still be either applicable in the during waste days, but obviously public works responsibilities too. We haven't heard much about layoffs or concerns with jobs. Most have been reassigned to other duties, but we haven't heard much in terms of layoffs, if that's a concern.
So as far as so they're taking care of the recyclables, will our people still look after picking up the regular garbage runs?
So excellent question, Mr. Mayor. This is exclusively blue box recycling. So garbage is still entirely an entity for the township to manage. And again, this may be an opportunity to rethink that. There may be opportunities with that contractor coming in on July 1st to start to pick up your garbage. So again, a number of municipalities that have already been advised of their service provider have already started that process. We've been waiting since spring of last year to find out who's serving the township, and we found out today. So there are a number of things that we can do to look at that, but garbage and effectively all garbage plus your commercial recycling will be something the township really needs to look at as of January 1st, 2026.
But that can be a question after the fact.
Yes, yes. So the focus tonight is really to work through the update, make sure council's aware of where everything is and where you stand, and that you're comfortable in executing that agreement. And then looking further ahead, there is time to look at where we're going through the end of next year and into 2026. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? So do you wish to you do the bylaw after? Okay, we'll do the bylaw in its place, and
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Irene, for a minute? Okay, minutes of the meeting, sorry?
Like, So, if we're not paying for recycling and so on and so forth, and our area rate now pays for recycling, how's that gonna affect our taxes? Yeah, we have to figure that out, how's it gonna affect our taxes? If we're not paying for pickup, it's
Only for
area
blue
rate,
logs.
pardon?
For blue logs. We
It'd still be
have to do
garbage.
that.
We still pay for it though, area rate in Killawood. We have to get
I
out
think
of
that's
this.
a whole separate
It's
matter.
gonna be a long, that's miles of trying to figure that out.
You know, you do?
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for me.
Are you sure?
I'm not yet.
Okay, minutes of the previous meeting. Protection and emergency management, February 27th, open and closed session. August 29th, open and closed. September 11th, open and closed.
Moved by Ted Brown, second by Harold Levine, motion to approve the minutes of the Protection and Emergency Management Committee meetings of February 27th, 2023, open and closed session, August 29th, 2023, open and closed sessions, and September 11th, 2023, open session.
Questions, discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Committee of adjustment, August 6th.
Moved by Maureen McMillan, second by Ted Brown, motion to approve the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting of August 6th, 2024, open session.
Questions, discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Public meeting, August 6th, open session.
Moved by Ted Brown, second by Brian Pekoski, motion to approve the minutes of the public meeting of August 6th, 2024, open session.
Questions, discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And the last one, regular council meeting of August the 6th, open and closed.
Moved by Ted Brown, second by Bill Smith, motion to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting of August 6th, 2024, open and closed sessions.
Questions or discussion? I have one question. Page 1, under marriage address. There's a section that seemed to be omitted about council should take more initiative in the Railway Property Association requests, and council needed to be retrained. And the other part was, I was unable to defend council, which I would have done then and will do now. That didn't make it in, or did you not?
I did not put that in.
Okay, just, do we need to?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I
We
just want,
created, it's on YouTube, these are just a reflection of that.
okay, good. Questions or concerns? All those in favor? Great. Silence.
Just one.
No, all of them.
Oh. Just
There should be one more.
oh.
Thank you.
Okay, under meetings. Anybody have any questions under meetings? Just a couple comments. In regards to council's concern about another finance meeting, I have some thoughts I would like to share with you. I am well aware of the cost of meetings. $156 times 7 is $1,092, plus 2 staff members. In my opinion, county committee meetings, like finance meetings, are where council discusses ideas and plans ahead and is proactive. I've spoken to a great number of taxpayers in the last 3 weeks in our township, asking them about finance meetings and the path we're on. All of those I spoke to said to carry on. Remember, it's a public meeting, public committee meetings where the public can watch council do its work. If we're not meeting, then we're not working, since all council discussion must take place within the public view. If we're not meeting, we're just sitting back and waiting to put out fires after they start. During our future discussions at our finance meetings, council will work at discussing why we are $1 million over budget and figure out how we can get out of this position. We have to meet and talk about things. And we can't wait till the last minute because this is a huge job. As I do my work, I keep finding new things to discuss and analyze. As much as it was a shock to see no tax increases for the 6 years, it is equally shocking to find out that there has been no tax increase for the special area rate for the village of Killaloe for 12 years. The last increase for this rate was in 2011 and was 6%. Since that time, there was no increase. That means 12 years with no increase, but costs did increase. Other items to be discussed at future finance meetings. Talk about postage, how can we save? Summer students, community development events. When we broke down the community development budget earlier this year, there was a sense that we were very aware of our costs. Now I am trying to accomplish that with our other accounts. The more council knows and understands, the better position we are in to make accurate decisions. Other items that we'll be talking about are roads accounts, the roads account, human resources, such as sick days, paid working days, banked hours, overtime, health insurance, vacation, wages, and staffing. The library, council and staff, conference and trade shows, should we be going or not be going? Wage increases, insurance, accounting fees, donations. We are not going to cut expenses hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time. We are going to do this bit by bits and pieces until we have a budget we can manage. Those are just my personal thoughts in regards to the meetings. Reports. Oh, sorry.
So, my problem is if we're going to be discussing stuff about community events, road departments, the library, any of that stuff, we come in here and we talk about it, but we don't have the answers because the heads of the departments aren't here, so there's nobody here to answer our questions.
Yeah. So take, for example, the next one, Dean will be here. So if anyone has any questions in regards to the roads, Dean will be here, plus Harold's here, as chair of the roads.
Okay, I don't know. I think they're
I'm
a
just-
waste of time. That's what I think. That's
I'm just
my
trying to get to
opinion.
a solution.
I don't get it. It's these finance meetings. We talk about the same things over and over and over and over and over again. To me, it's a waste of taxpayers' money. But
Any other comments? Okay, Bob, sorry for the delay.
Hey, no problem. Okay, you all have a copy of the report in front of you. Fire operations since July 16th. On July 21st, we got a call for a vessel fire, but no matter who was giving us directions, it was not found. 23rd, we had an alarm at St. Andrew's School, and it had flooded out pretty badly with the rains there. The ceiling was collapsing, etc. There was no fire. It was strictly an alarm problem, and the alarm was reset, and then it came in early on the morning of the 24th as well. August 4th, we got a call for a chemical spill on the Shrine Hill Drive. There was no chemical spill. There was a local smell, and the source was not located. August 7th, alarm at Albee Lane. That again was accidental due to construction. August 15th, we had an alarm at Queen Street, and August 25th, an alarm was smoke on Round Lake Road. As you see, we're getting more alarm calls all the time. Ongoing activities, weekly truck checks, monthly equipment checks, recent events. On July the 18th, there was an OFM training portal in Pembroke. August 9th, we had wildland fire prognosis with M&R. August the 9th, after that meeting, we went to the Emergency Management Ontario meeting. August the 11th, we had support to the KHR Classic Car Show. August 17th, support for the Irish Gathering. Upcoming events, we have Renfrew County Fire Chiefs Association that's coming up September 4th, Taste of the Valley on the 7th, September the 10th, bi-monthly meeting, November 26th, bi-monthly meeting, and December the 4th, the Renfrew County Fire Chiefs' last meeting of the year. Recent training we did on July 16th, we had equipment maintenance hosting. July 23rd, decontamination at the Round Lake Hall. August 6th, we had pump training, that was with the Wajax and the High Hall at Round Lake Hall. August 13th, we had water relay. August 20th, interior attack with a burning trailer. We have to meet our requirements for a firefighter level 2, and they have to do interior attack. So we started by burning stuff within the trailer. They were putting that out with extinguishers, and then we let it grow a little bit. And as you can see, we had some fun a little later. Upcoming training, September 3rd, radio communications. September the 17th, search and rescue, smokehouse. October the 8th, we've got a vehicle fire. 15th, we have ground and roof ladders. October 29th, extrication scenario. November 2nd, hazmat, Canutech, and chemical suicide. December 3rd, size up scenarios, overhaul and tarps. December 10th, PPE, SCBA, and NOx. On the EMC side, August 21st, we had a modernization of the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act meeting in Ottawa. And yesterday, we had the annual Emergency Management Program Committee meeting. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Bob?
I have a question. Is it possible to give the Round Lake Fire Hall a spritz with the hose? Because I went out to take pictures of it and it is like covered in stuff.
And you're looking at the front because we just did that.
Oh, you did? Okay,
About a
okay.
week ago, we did that before we did the one here.
Okay, I went out about a month ago, so.
Okay, yeah, we did
perfect.
that on a training night. It was raining so hard, we figured, hey, we're getting wet anyway.
Awesome. Okay, that's awesome. I'm gonna go back out then.
So
Okay.
You say cobweb and stuff like that?
Yeah. No, it didn't look like, it just wasn't, yeah, it wasn't looking, it's like, fast.
You can grab one off the website.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions for Bob? We're good. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening, guys.
Thank you.
Colton.
I guess to start things off with the most recent, last week I submitted a grant for a fire protection service. Basically, it was a grant that came out that was targeting cancer prevention firefighters, so Bob and I worked together on that. We applied for a decontamination shower and a thermal imaging camera that can detect heat signatures, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, all that stuff. So that's in, that's good, and then we'll probably hear back in 3 months if we get it or not. Second item is the Irish Gathering. I think for the circumstances and the craziness that went with it, it was handled very well. Everyone liked the Lions Hall, the convenience of it. Music went on. Terry Master was great to work with. He moved everything. We got it all done, and I think everyone enjoyed themselves. Big thanks to Councillor Smith for kind of getting that together, and Councillor McMillan for supporting the idea. I think next year we're praying for some sunshine and have it outdoors again. Second item is the car show. I really liked it. It was my first time doing it. Enjoyed it. I love antique cars. Love seeing that come together, and love seeing stuff happen out around lakes. So, Councillor Levine, you can kind of agree with me. It was a good showing.
It was fantastic.
Yep. I received a complaint about insufficient washrooms and having more. I personally don't think that spending money for one porta potty is going to change much. I think maybe having clear direction to washrooms is a better idea.
The porta potty doesn't get used.
Yep. The swim barbecue had to be rescheduled due to the rain, but Councillor Kuehl and Levine can both second that it was a good time. Keel.
Like it.
Sorry about that. Can second that it went good. I think we had around 70 people come out, and cooked up a lot of hot dogs. Swim instruction we had this year was great. He did an awesome job, dealt with parents very well, and yeah, he's a great young lad. Songs in the park, going well. Had to cancel the same week as the swim barbecue, the week prior due to the rain. We have Mark Audit coming to Round Lake this Friday, and Councillor Levine, you said you're going to cook up some hot dogs there, so that'll be good. KPP trails, so they are they are done. I just kind of picked away at it after work, and then yeah, we got them to a point where I think they're acceptable. Moving forward, I think we need to come up with a plan to have steady maintenance on them. Came across a grant called Two Trails Grant, and it's basically an organization that grants municipalities or non-profit organizations money to preserve trail systems in townships. I have talked to Kathy Lyons, and she will get back to me. I haven't heard from her, but I think that's kind of where we want to go in that direction. Barco dropped off all the new trail reading stations, so that will be implemented probably next summer or next fall. Then Taste the Valley is the next big one, probably the last big event for me, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is the event that I've kind of had the most knowledge about and most preparedness for it. So yeah, Scott Hamilton, who is the economic developer and kind of the head in Taste the Valley, we've been chatting lots, and he's great to work with, and he sent out a mass email there to all the municipalities that host it, saying that if we're interested in having them back, we need to send an email back. I think September 27th is the deadline, something along those lines. I think we're going to wait and see how it goes. I mean, Taste the Valley has a great name, great reputation. But yeah, we'll see how it goes, and if we want to have them back, I think it'd be very beneficial for economic development as well as acknowledgement of Kildare Game Richards. And that's pretty much all I have here. Is there any questions?
Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Mr. Keel.
Okay, we're having Taste of the Valley in this back
That
area.
parking lot, yes.
Well, you look at the Round Lake Park, look at the space and parking that's available there. I think if we're gonna do it again, I'd apply to do it out there.
And-
Seriously, you
and
got the room.
I agree, Councillor, 100%. I don't know all of the fine lines behind it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's certain guidelines.
Yeah,
again.
so
That's why it had to be here. We couldn't have it at the park down here. There was guidelines that had to be followed. So
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying
space.
there's guidelines.
And I'm talking parking and everything, that's what
I
I'm
know,
talking
but it's the Taste of the Valley gives us the guidelines, and we have to follow them. So we'd have to see if it would fit under their guidelines.
It's a county event, Carl, so we have to follow. And one of the reasons here that we couldn't use Station Park is because the land was not even. They couldn't fit, how many vendors you got?
we have 62 confirmed
62.
plus our own 10.
They configure how the vendors are lined up.
Well, they could put 200 in Round Lake.
It'll be a question that I'll talk to Scott about and figure something out, but I don't know, and I can't give you an
Yeah,
answer
okay,
for sure.
I
So
just thought I'd mention that.
No, but it's a good point.
For space, I'm just saying.
It's a great point because it's one of our parks too. Anybody else?
No, just good job thinking on your feet on Saturday. That was like your first big call, moving that event indoors, and you handled that very, very well. So
Well, I wasn't alone, so.
yeah, but you took all the heat. If there was any heat today, it was all on you. So
I can report that the Lions did well at the bar. I think our profit was right in the neighborhood of around $2,000, which is excellent. That's money that goes right back into the community.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Great.
Much of it from
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr. Brown.
Teddy's got 1,000 in there.
Yeah.
I think overall, Colton, you're doing a great job and keep it up. You're right in there, feet first. And what exactly does your involvement with the Taste of the Valley, other than the contact person?
Yeah, so my kind of biggest feel is just making sure Scott has everything he needs. I know that one of the problems we faced so far is finding amperage and having enough length for cords to go to certain vendors who are using hot plates, who are using, you know, little freezers and whatnot. So it's more just like finding ways to accommodate him. An example would be we're going to use a generator from Bob's Fire Hall to hook extension cords up, just so we don't have to worry about blowing any fuses or shorting any cables in here. But it's all that kind of aspect and that kind of feels.
Well, we have a generator outside here.
Yeah, it doesn't have a 30 amp plug.
Oh,
needs
no.
Needs a 30 amp, no.
And also at the same time, the library will be closed that day
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
Now, what about washroom facilities? Are they able to come into the building or?
Yep, so they can come in, and then I'm assuming parking is going to be a follow-up question, and I've called, and so far there's no services at St. Andrew's Church, so that can be a parking lot, and then, you know, if people have to park down by the beaver tail stand, and they go back down the beaver tail stand and get a beaver tail while they come up, you know.
Now, has there been any pushback from the market at all?
I haven't gotten any, no.
I haven't heard any.
No.
So,
No, I think that, you know, it's an event that showcases not only Killaloe, but everything that's about it, Killaloe, Hager, and Richards, that is. And I think that community is going to support every aspect of it.
I want to say, I think this is the first and only Taste of the Valley we've ever hosted.
First one ever in Killaloe. Yep.
So that's really something.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be really, really good. I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Last question, Songs in the Park. You have some changes on your original list.
Yes, 3.
So September 30th is Steve Agnew. September
No.
or August 30th. Sorry.
No.
No. So Steve, yeah, no.
No,
No.
that's been changed, right?
Yes.
No, there's a fire weekend.
No.
Eh? Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark Cadet is this
Mark Cadet. And then September 6th is
Gill and Roots,
Okay.
and then 13th is Roddy McCain.
okay.
Yeah, the last 2 are going to be at Wilno because we had to cancel Wilno. So the 13th is going to be at Wilno, the 6th will be at Wilno, and then
This Friday.
yeah, this Friday around it.
Good. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Good job. Keep it up.
So the only thing that I have in Oakland is provided in your package an email from that was sent to Facility Asset Manager Dale Thompson from Zircon. What Zircon is asking, they would like to proceed with the demolition ahead of November's installation of the bachelor board at the Killaloe rink. Zircon has indicated that they do not want to disrupt the pickleball players and propose to do the demolition in stages where they will barricade off areas from the general public and still allow the pickleball courts to be utilized. Once the boards are down, they will add a railing along the top of the steel post so that people are aware that they are there, and that they will also place traffic cones on the parking lot side for vehicles. So they're asking for council's permission to go ahead and start removing the boards, the rink boards, so that they can be prepared for when the boards actually arrive.
Get it done.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Want to read the winter, can't wait till that.
Everyone okay?
That's it.
That's it. A couple of months ago, Tammy had asked a request of us, and so at every council meeting over the past weeks of the summer, there have been questions regarding roads, waste sites, detours, etc. Waste like tonight. I'm asking council to reconsider our previous decision to bring our road superintendent to only 1 meeting per month, coming back to every meeting. I don't feel it's fair to have Tammy and myself answering questions about road closures, detours, dock issues, etc. As a high-profile member of our senior management team and controller of the highest departmental budget of our municipality, I'm asking for my recommendation would be that he should be at every meeting. Does anyone have any comments?
Was there any questions tonight?
Well, I thought it would have been important for him to be for the waste.
For what?
For the waste. For the blue box. Because that directly affects him.
He's got the same package that we
would think if there was something really pressing, he would pass that information on via you, or if it was very pressing, he would indeed show up.
I talk to Dean at least 3 times a week, so I
Yeah.
see that I get hold of, you know, what's going on in events.
So there's no interest in having Dean come every meeting?
No.
Okay. Road and general voucher. Questions? Yes, Brian.
26483.
26483. PSD, so
Yes, that's our asset management, that's the last payment that we made for our asset management program.
Okay.
It was an invoice that Dale held on to, because he had some questions with it, and so then, they finally worked through it, and that's what that's for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Keel?
Thank you. I'm being good tonight.
Okay. Does anybody have anything for committee? Any reports? Nope. Correspondence. First one, municipality of Wawa, and I believe we have a resolution.
Moved by Brian Pekoski, second by Maureen McMillan, whereas council for the township of Kulu, Hagerty and Richards received correspondence from the municipality of Wawa regarding asset retirement obligations. Now therefore be it resolved that council of the corporation of the township of Kulu, Hagerty and Richards approves the following. That correspondence from the municipality of Wawa, which includes correspondence from the township of Laurel Lake and the town of Cobalt regarding asset retirement obligations, be received and endorsed. And that council of the corporation of the township of Kulu, Hagerty and Richards calls upon the province to provide financial assistance to municipalities to complete the asset retirement obligation. And further, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honorable Paul Calandra, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario, the Association of Municipals of Ontario, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, and all municipalities in Ontario.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Township of Sterling Rock, public salary disclosure resolution. St. Francis Healthcare Foundation. Letter from Bonnie Kuyak.
Will Bonnie be given a answer about, or will she be advised about the special area rate? Is that a possibility?
She has already, but I can,
Okay.
I can clarify with her. The last CEO that was in this position replied to her about the same
Okay.
questions she's had. And I will, reiterate what was said.
Okay.
And a note from J&P Utrunki.
Stepping down.
The only comment I have is I will not be resigning. And now we have bylaw.
Moved by Bill Smith, second by Ted Brown, that bylaw number 30/2024 being a bylaw authorizing agreement between Circular Materials Ontario and the Corporation of the Township of Killary, Hagerty and Richards at its regular meeting held on August 27, 2024, be given its first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 27th day of August 2024.
Questions, discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Does anyone have any unfinished business?
I do, just that I noticed that we got an email from Dale in regards to security
Yeah.
cameras. So I don't know if that could be printed out so we can discuss it at our next meeting perhaps.
Did everyone get that? I was gonna put that under new business.
Okay.
No, it's fine.
It would just be good to have it in front of, you know.
Okay. Anybody bring that with them? Dale's email?
I have it on my phone at home.
Yeah.
We'll do it under new business. Does anybody have any other, old business, unfinished business? So I have a couple things. First one is just to follow up to Councillor Pikowski's concern, the costs associated with the OPP. In 2022, the year-end reconciliation, we ended up paying $15,000 more in 2024 because of overtime in 2022. Okay? So, question I have, the retroactive charges that we're going to be faced, and everyone got that memo, I believe, from the OPP as far as their wage increases of 4.75% for 2023, 4.5% for 2024, and so on. So my question is, what are those charges going to be for 23 and 24? So June 18th, 2024, Tweed sent out a resolution, and I'm pretty sure we support that, about downloading OPP costs. Or did we, remember?
Do we support?
Did we at that time?
But I would have to
Yeah,
look
we'd
into
have to look, but Tweed had sent out, I'll just read it to you. It was regarding OPP funding and sustainable funding for small rural municipalities. And their key thing in their resolution was standardized billing for all non-contract OPP locations, annual cost OPP for small rural non-contract municipalities is approximately $428 million. So what they're trying to do is, their resolution was to give it back to the province as opposed to downloading to us. They were very general in their description. What I'd like to isolate that on is the retroactive wages for 23 and 24. Now, I really don't believe we should be paying retroactive wages. Should we do a province-wide resolution for to the Premier's attention, or should we initiate something along that line? But council's decision if you want to go ahead with this. I'm just making this the point. I think it's something that has merit to it.
I believe we're in a contract with the OPP for them to provide policing services to a municipality, and we have to pay what it costs. The other option would be for us to have our own police, which is not a tenable solution whatsoever.
So
The
The
overtime,
costs are the costs.
the overtime costs are gonna be way higher this year because they have no workers here and they're bringing everybody in on overtime to cover. And it's not just here, it's everywhere.
and now we're going to be under Upper Ottawa Valley, right?
That doesn't change anything though, I don't think.
What I say is not monetary anyway. Well, there's a lot of extra costs in there too that is not predicted through the part of the budget. All these calls I get to go to house, well, somebody's looking in my window, or this one is talking to me, and that all gets charged back to the township.
Well, I got called by the OPP Saturday morning for a dog on Traymore Road, and the OPP's exact words were, the call came over as a horny dog running around humping everything. So they are calling us to get our animal control. That costs the township, that costs money.
Yeah. And
He
by
tied
call.
up an officer for probably 2 hours.
That's right,
So
that's right.
we can say all we want, but that's their contract.
We
The
just said-
back pay is part of the contract. There's nothing that's going to change that.
So, and we did receive, I have a copy, Brian, if you'd like to see it, but it's a copy of every call that they've had, like, and it breaks it right down to traffic, property crime violations, criminal code violations, operations, like everything's broken down, like right to the call almost. So if you wanna see that, I could do that, but I just thought this overtime sticks in my mind, and, you know, for them to go back, it's gonna be an additional expense for our next budget, that's all.
But if they would've had a contract to begin with, we would've been paying it right from the get-go. So really, it's here or there, it would've been the same amount of money.
Okay, so we'll let that slide. My next one is follow up to Councillor McMillan's concerns to interest forgiveness.
For what?
Interest forgiveness
Mhm.
on taxes.
Mhm.
So I checked with other municipalities, and they do not do this. Nobody has this. I also checked with other municipalities on my own research online, and could not find anything to help your concern about that. You know, because one thing that stuck in my mind was maybe if a person pays 10 years of interest paying, maybe that interval after 10 years, maybe the interest is stopped and then principal starts taking over. It was just an idea. I don't know. And I couldn't find anything anywhere unless maybe our staff could look further into other bylaws, other examples. But I want you to know that I did check to see if there was anything that could be done. So that's that one. The other item I have is tax documents. There were two documents issued by mail. One was a salmon colored one that shows all your tax information, what is owing. The other one is on a white piece of paper and is entitled Explanation of Tax Changes 2023 to 2024. The document was done incorrectly because there are numbers on the wrong line and other lines that are left blank, like the county tax and the education tax. I don't know, does everyone know what I'm talking about, that white piece of paper that's on the back? Okay, those documents are printed and mailed to us by the company, Tammy Lights?
No, the file is
The file,
downloaded,
yeah.
we print them,
Yeah.
and we stuff them and mail them.
So this other company, they do all the inputting, etc. We then in turn mail them out to our taxpayers. The situation has led to a lot of confusion within our taxpayers for the ones that did look at the white piece of paper. So this document, if it's coming out of our office with our information on it, we need to make sure it's correct. I think staff needs to meet with the company, and if we're going to continue sending that white piece of paper out, we need to ensure that it's going to be done properly. That's my point on that one.
Then let's stop sending them out.
Pardon?
Then let's stop sending it out. All it does is give us headaches.
Yeah, like I've had numerous calls. So
Sick of people.
the last item I have on unfinished business is the council composition. Tammy emailed everyone a document. So I think what we need to do is have a timeline to complete the process. Do we pass a bylaw to reduce the number of councillors from 6 to 4, since that is the lowest we can go? Or do we wait? I know we've talked about public opinion and having that. And then we need to, another question is, the ward system, that has to be done, I think, through the public opinion, according to Tammy's sheets. And scenarios that could end up out of that are council at large, so 4 councillors at large, or council by ward and 1 at large. Okay, those are different scenarios. I think the timeline that I'm talking about is when do we initiate this process? And do we need to determine right out the hop? Are we going for the next election? Are we going to 4 councillors? Do we need to vote on that, or do we need a bylaw? Tammy, I think you got to guide us through that. not tonight, but I mean, that's something that we need to accomplish with a timeline and those kind of questions. Is that fair? Does anyone have any questions about that?
No, but it seems important to make a move, like, yeah, if we're going to proceed with that.
We need to continue on.
Yeah.
Tammy's given us information, we need to act on it.
Okay,
We can't make any of those decisions without public meetings, am I right, Tammy?
Would be wise to consult the public and to ask what the public wants. Do they want the way it stands now? Do they want, just as I provided in the report, the different scenarios, having a public meeting, having some surveys, having the options so that the public can comment, where then council can, you know, review their information and base their decisions on what they receive.
Okay, yeah. My concern is because we did a extensive look at that in our previous council and came up with the conclusion that there was very little savings to be had, and that's why it's left as it is now. So what are we going to gain by this? How many meetings are we going to have, and plus the public meetings on top of it, to find out that there is no saving? You might want to look back at some of the,
okay, I'm not privy to that, so I don't.
yeah,
But if I'm
it's all
not,
public information.
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't necessarily about the councillors, it was about the ward system.
That was
I-
all
if I-
done.
I don't think it had anything to do with councillors.
Previous time.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
No,
It
it
did?
did both, yeah.
okay.
Very-
Well, maybe we need to pull that up with history to see where it was, but, okay. I think I'm done. Any new business?
Well, I would just like to, I would like us to have that information for our next meeting in our package so we can look at it. Is that possible? And then we can discuss it then? I think that would be reasonable.
We have until the January 1st, 2026.
That's the new council.
No, the new
2026?
council won't come in until the end of 2026.
Oh, yeah.
So the bylaw, decisions in the bylaw need to be made, and the appeal period has to be over by January 1st, 2026.
Changes to the ward system in effect for the 2026 municipal election. Inclusion of an appeal period must be forced before January 1st. So we have till January 1st, 2026 to have all this done. If you want to change. But it is a public process. There has to be a bylaw.
So the public process would involve everything, right? The ward system, the councillors, even though, say, council votes
Well,
on
this is
one of
just
them.
for the ward system. I'd have
Okay.
to read further to find out
Yeah.
if it changes the council.
It's the same.
They both go hand in hand,
It's
yeah.
all the same,
Okay, well, let's wait until the next meeting. On Maureen's suggestion. Any new business? Okay. We're gonna go to committee of the whole.
Moved by Ted Brown, second by Maureen McMillan, motion to move into committee of the whole. Be it resolved that council move into a closed meeting pursuant to section 239 of the municipal law 2001 as amended for the following reasons. Personal matters of identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before the administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, advice that is subject to solicitor client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, or financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group, or person or organization, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, discretion to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board.
Listen to. Here.
Can you read that again, Ted?